Okay. All right. So this morning, we're fortunate to have Annie van Ostrom, Senior Partner and Founder of Design Thinkers Group in the Netherlands. In October last year, when I was in the Netherlands for the Design Thinking Plan for Design Thinkers Group and Design Thinking Ghana to co-host the Design Thinkers Conference this year. So yeah, there you go. That definitely, obviously is not going to come on, but there are so many other ways in which we're going to do it, and I think Annie is going to talk about that. So Annie is internationally recognized as a pioneer and thought leader in the emerging fields of service design and design thinking. A lot of experience of facilitating and developing service design thinking training sessions and master classes. And he founded and built Design Thinkers Group to be one of the leading design-driven innovation agencies facilitating organizations around the world and making transition from being strictly product-oriented and sales-driven towards a more service-oriented and human-centered design, having those processes. Annie has been to our Design Thinking Ghana conference twice, so we're very excited that he can come and share his experiences with us. And so without much ado, let me welcome Annie van Ostrom. I'm going to take the screen off in a moment, Annie. But Kelvin, if you can unmute Annie.
Yes, I am unmuted now. So,
Wonderful.
Hey, Gordon. Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, cool. Because it is interesting how this. So you mentioned me being in Accra in Ghana for the conference a couple of times, and although I'm kind of sad that I cannot join you because it's first of all it's wonderful to be in Ghana, and I miss the smell. When you come out of the airport, you smell Ghana. You smell Accra, and that's so I really in a way somehow I'm reminded by that just by being on Zoom with you guys. Anyway, I'm a little bit sad that I can't be with you because I think it's so important to be in the same space and to be in the same room and to meet. But at the same time, isn't it amazing that we can be in a conference anywhere on the planet, and it's just and I'm still I'm at home. I'm here in a town called Haarlem, right next to Amsterdam and the ocean, and it is amazing. Anyway, so I'll go and I'll time my talk a little bit because I don't want to go over time. So I'll time myself. I want to talk a little bit about. Obviously, I want to talk a little bit about design thinking because, but I'm not going to because I think you're going to spend time getting more practical information about what design thinking is. I'm going to talk a little bit about something else. It's something that's happening right at this moment. Something totally unique. Something I already mentioned as well. I mean, I can be here on Zoom with all of you, and you can be anywhere on the planet, and it is amazing. And I just want you to, because sometimes we take these things for granted. It's like very, sure, of course, we've been Skyping and we've been doing this for such a long time.
Start now. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Are you taking my picture, Gordon? You were taking my picture. See, but it is, no, go ahead. No, but it is such an amazing opportunity to kind of rethink everything this moment in time. Anyway, I'm going to do a little thing. If you've been at one of my talks or you've seen me before do a talk, I'm going to play a game. You've done this before. If you I'm going to do it, just kind of bear with me. I cannot hear you, I cannot see you, so that is the big challenge of not being in the same room. So as a speaker, that is like, in a way, it's horrible, because I want to see your faces and I want to see you respond. However, we're going to do a little game, all right? Go ahead. Here's the game. How many squares do you see? Now, if you played this before, you know, bear with me, bear with me. How many squares do you see? I'm going to give you a few seconds. Just go and, you know, answer my question in your mind, or write it down. How many squares do you see? Now, some of you might say 12 or 10, or, you know, but listen to the question. How many squares do you see? If you haven't played this game, it's a trick, right? It's a trick question. How many squares do you see? All right, now I want to think about this. What are you doing if you hear that question? What are you doing? What is your behavior? What is the thing you do? So there's a guy on your screen showing you an image with squares and asking you, how many squares do you see? What do? You count the squares on the screen. I didn't ask you that. I asked you, how many squares do you see? You might have Post-its on your desk. You might have, I don't know, there must be many squares around you. You haven't looked, probably, if you haven't played a game before. Now, that's a pattern of behavior. And design thinking is all about breaking that. This sounds like a mean trick, but it is actually, we want you to question things. We want you to be in the mindset of, okay, can we take it in a different angle? Now, okay, so this is just a little bit of a trick, but this is how you're wired. This is how your brain is wired, okay? Go think about everything you do throughout the day, you know, the way you act, the way you say hello, all the rituals, all the things we do. It is kind of wired in your brain. And design thinking, not just design thinking, but creative thinking, wants to break through these patterns. Now, so if I now ask you, how many circles do you see? All right, I hope that now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, do I see more circles? All right, so hopefully, and again, I can't see your face, I can't see you respond. You might be like this, who is this guy? I'm sleeping. I don't know. But if I'm asking you now, how many circles do you see? I hope that I changed a little bit of your behavior. Questioning the question. So we're talking about borders, right? And I say, and my talk is about a world without borders, okay? Because I think I don't know where you are, but I'm in the Netherlands. I know Gordon and many of you are in Ghana. There's probably other people. I know there's one of the people participating is in the UK. I don't know, but the world without borders is coming. So listen, we're living on this globe, this world, right? If you zoom out, how many countries do you see? How many countries are there on this globe? If you zoom out, you don't even see countries. Now, this might be silly comparison, but I just want to say borders are a construct. Borders are a construct. We imagine that. They're not real. There's no such thing as countries. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as companies either. It is all in your mind. We decided that. We believed in that story. And so we say, well, this is a country, this is a border, and that is our belief. But now, so I'm taking you with, just go with me on this, right? I am on Zoom, so I'm zooming in, but what if we zoom out? I can be anywhere on the planet. It is unique. We can collaborate. We can do anything. We don't need anyone to tell us what to do, governments, business. We can create new it's all up to us. The technology is there and it's developing really. Is our superpower. Imagination is a way to kind of think about what is possible. Imagination is something that allows us to think about what is possible, is not there, and then go and build it. Now, we need people to be creative thinkers and we need people to imagine things, but we have, unlearned. As children, we are all imagineers. As children, we are all creators, but we have unlearned to kind of think about what is possible instead of, what is not possible, in answering the question instead of questioning the question. Now, creative thinking is about breaking patterns. It's the art of breaking patterns and habits and certainties deliberately. So breaking these patterns. So remember of the squares. It's a silly example, I know, but that is right. It represents life the way we constructed it. Breaking through these patterns is what creativity does. It creates new options and new possibilities. So breaking on purpose. However, what happens now in 2020, we have a pandemic. Everything's changed. We might not be aware because we wanted to kind of keep things going, but the pandemic has created this amazing intervention. And I just want to set aside one thing. There are many horrible things happening because of the pandemic. There's people very ill, there's people dying. Now, so if I am saying that it is such an amazing opportunity, I don't mean to say that there's no terrible things happening, but what I'm saying is that because of all the terrible things that are happening, we are required to do something useful with it. We are required to say, this means something, this has to mean something. So we're going to use this pandemic as a creative period because it creates an intervention in the way we were behaving. It is breaking through these patterns. And I just want to introduce one thing to you, which is called the edge of chaos. Now, the edge of chaos, and I know if there's a biologist or someone who actually knows the science behind this, they might tell me like, Arne, that's not really, but I just go with me with this one, edge of chaos. Now, up here, you see all the structured, the linear things that we do, the linear businesses, the organizations, very linear, now things kind of, if it's too, now, so what happens is that in evolution and in growth, this is what happens. We follow this line. Right now, I'm online on Zoom. I'm facilitating, for instance, workshops with people on a computer screen. I needed to learn new skills. As a facilitator, I was not used to be behind a computer and not seeing people, not being in the same room, not reading their body language, the energy. I missed that. So I needed to build new skills. All right, so we need new skills. But creativity and allowing complexity and allowing ourselves to be agile, that is sort of such an important skill right now. It is the proof. Now consider this, and now this is a research by, I think there's different opinions about it, but it's sort of true. You are 96% less creative than you were as a child, and it's based on this test by NASA that tests sort of creativity. And when they test children, they are way more creative than adults. I think that is a simple thing, but we need adults to be as creative, not be children. I'm not saying we have to be different. Because we're adults, it's slightly different, but we have to be more creative. That's a skill. It's your brain. We go back to the way you're wired, right? So we can rewire our brains, and that is practice. But it's also about curiosity. So to stay curious and build empathy. It's okay. Allow yourself to question things. Allow yourself to, and allow your team and your business to be curious and to discover new things and to make mistakes, because we learn by making mistakes. So that's the attitude that needs to change. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the future. We have no clue. Artificial intelligence is coming. There's a global warming is happening. Stuff is going to happen. This is not the last earthquake. So be aware that we have to build the buildings that survive earthquakes, and the things that are collapsing at this moment, we know we don't want to rebuild those. we want to keep the things that are still there, but and here's the trick, we have to build something that is sustainable and that is towards a future that we don't know. Now, don't think again in structures the way the way you're used to maybe when you work in companies and corporates, but think in networks. Companies are networks. We are networks. We are communities. Look around you. Zoom out, and say, wait a minute. What is all connected? What is around me? How is value flowing through these systems that I'm part of? And because it is about you being part of this system and you being aware of that ecosystem, and these systems are being connected right now. I've been connected to Ghana, the design thinking conference for a long time. We are part of the same ecosystem. We can create value together. Think about the world that way. So zoom out, borders disappear. We have all these possibilities. Technology allows us, artificial intelligence, technology, quantum computing, et cetera, is going to allow us to do much more, but we don't know the future. So be creative, be agile. And here's something, if you think about systems, you have to think about balance and not just growth. Think about being in balance. The system needs balance. So remember that edge of chaos. That's sort of where you're going through. You always, balance is not about standing still. Balance is about always moving. It's like a tightrope walker. You always move from left to right to keep the balance. It's not about standing still. Standing still is sort of that structured thing where you go dead or falling off the rope. That's also no good because that's not a good thing. So being in balance is stay moving. It also means, so I'm going to introduce a few things to you and I'm going to end my talk. And I would love to have some questions, if that's okay. I'm going to introduce to you because I think because we need new economy. Now, if you're not familiar with the term new economy, new economics is all about creating balance before growth. For instance, minimizing profit. Now that sounds really silly maybe to you. What, minimizing profit? Why would I minimize profit? Okay. Minimizing profit means that you have to figure out first, what are you trying to do? What is your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then you think, how much money do I need to make that happen? And if you think about maximizing profit, everything goes. Whatever it takes. Money. Enough. It makes no sense. It's the most destructive force I know at this moment. New economics, and read the book by Kate Raworth about their donut economy, which is all about thinking about the responsibility within the system, thinking about how does the money actually flow and how do you take responsibility for what you're doing as an individual. Okay, we also need a new social construct. New meaning, everything is a construct. So if you have read the book Sapiens, if you haven't read it, but here the concept is described as everything construct, and I know this kind of, it made my brain hurt a little bit, but everything is basically a story we believe in, and that's how we can organize ourselves around it. So a business, there is no such thing as a business and organization. It's just a story that we believe in. There are no things as countries. There are no things as human rights. There are no things like that. We make up those stories. Those stories are powerful because they allow us to organize and to organize ourselves on a very big scale. Now, I think we also need stories make more sense for a new era. Stories that make more sense, thinking about, even this pandemic or a global will happen if we don't change very rapidly. So we need a new story that we can believe in and then organize ourselves accordingly. And I think the opportunity here is that we can connect, wherever we are, we can connect. We don't have to wait for governments or businesses to tell us. We can build platforms, we can build communities, we can create movements. And every change starts with one person. It doesn't start with waiting. It starts with you just doing something different. It starts with you saying, I'm going to do something different. And every small little change, adding all those little changes up, makes a big change. So you have the power. You're not powerless to change things. You have that power. Okay, so you need Imagineers because, scientists and accountants and and bean counters, they're great people to show us what's happening now, but they can't imagine a new world. They can't imagine what it could be like. They don't. They just measure what is happening now and what has happened in the past, which is great information to have. But we need people to be able to imagine a new world, to imagine something, and then we're going to build it. So that is you. And I'm going to end my talk here. And I hope that you have some questions for me, and I hope you kept up, because I can't see your faces, which is always really bad. But I'm very happy if you actually heard me, and I'm going to be very happy if you ask me some questions and challenge me on these things. Because we are in a very new era, and don't believe anyone telling you that they know what to do and where it's going. Don't believe that. You are just as knowledgeable as anyone else, and we're figuring it out, and we're moving forward into an unknown future. So question things, and the last tip I want to give you: start with "I don't know." Because it opens all these possibilities and doors. Start with I don't know, because we know you don't know, and I don't know, nobody knows, but that's a big connector, I think, with all of us. All right, thank you. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Anne, for this wonderful insights that you've given us this morning. My name is Abby, and I'm one of the facilitators on this conference.
Hello, Abby. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well. And thank you for joining us. We encourage those who have questions to put it in the chat, and Anne will gratefully answer them for us. So please go ahead and put your questions in the chat.
Whilst people do that, Anne, as always, thought-provoking is what Doris was saying, and very insightful. When you started and you said, I don't have slides, I have props, I was thinking, yeah, that's Anne for you. It's incredible, right?
It's the new innovation.
It's
innovation, man. This is the innovation. Right. So it's pen and paper. Right. Well, I'll tell you something that is, I think it's important to realize for all of us, for me, for everyone. Just because things can be digital doesn't mean they have to be digital. Please keep that in mind. I'm a photographer, and I've always thought, why do we need to have photography digitally? It's not that you don't have to, but we have this urge to put everything on the computer right now. Of course it's helpful, it's amazing, but again, think about it differently. You can do things. And actually, so I was thinking, I'm going to use the iPad and I can kind of draw in it, but I just came up with that idea, and so it was a little bit too so I was afraid to use it now. Anyway, use props, be more creative. Use your room, use your space. If you are doing digital facilitation, if you have a remote camera angle, use light. I have a light here. It's silly, but it's important. So think about these things, because that's the new normal. That is how we present ourselves. That is how, so, whatever you think about the way I present myself, but I did it on purpose. So, it's purposely. I show you the view a little bit. I have some art because it makes me look more interesting. I put my guitar there because I want you to think I'm a creative, in a camera there, because I think, oh, he's really creative. He has stuff there, which is nice. I did it on purpose. It's on purpose. It is trying to influence you and the way you see me. And I put on my t-shirt which says, don't be afraid, just iterate. Don't be afraid, just iterate. Don't be afraid, try, learn. It's how you ride bicycles. You fall down, you're like, oh, the first time you fall down from a bicycle, you're not saying, oh, that thing doesn't work. No, you get on again and try again, because that's how you learn. I feel this way now with this new normal with Zoom and video conference. I feel like I start again. I start from scratch, and I'm falling down. I'm flat on my face like every time. So, it's not that I'm like, yeah, that's fun, but I know I have to do it, right?
That's wonderful. I'm really struck by the idea that organizations are stories, right? And if you look at it from that perspective, and it becomes a question of how do you reorganize that story? How do we take advantage of the edge of chaos to reorganize our stories, our organizations? Yeah. There are a couple of questions in the chat. One from Kofi Jamfi, who says, Annie, can you share more on the roles of imaginers in the corporate scene? Because imaginations are so intangible. And maybe you can start from there, and then we can go to the others.
Well, so we can have a philosophical debate about what is tangible and intangible. I mean, where's your money usually? Where is that? We feel that's really tangible, right? What is money really? But if it's in your hand, it's a piece of paper with a picture on it. What do you mean? How is that tangible? How is the value of money tangible? My usually is like data on a bank somewhere, and I trust that bank. But really? But it's not real. There's no such thing. It's just that we believe in that story. So no, imagination is not intangible. Everything is intangible. Nothing is tangible. It's just that we feel that we decided that companies are real, and you can even sue them, and there's lawyers, and these are our kind of witch doctors, right? That says, yeah, there's all these rules and this stuff. Now, if you start, I'm teasing a little bit, right? But I want you to think about these things in a different way. Zoom out and say, what is real? Because, and I know it makes it more vague and more difficult, but it does mean that you're going to see new patterns, new opportunities, because there are people who have been trying for years to create new currencies. I mean, there are new currencies right now, because they said, well, what is money except an agreement, that I say, well, if I give you this money, it has this value, and you believe me because someone else also agreed on it. So imagination is not intangible. It is everything. Everything is imaginary. The brand you work for is just a story. It can be a crappy story, but it's just a story. Advertisement, the way you marketing is just stories. Nothing is real. And because they give you a contract, because you work for a business, they give you a contract. It's just a story. It's all stories. Now, maybe you're like, oh, wait, hang on. I know, but it is, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to challenge these concepts, because that's how you see kind of the things, how you can mold and change them and rearrange them. And you're allowed to. There's no one telling you to think in these kind of linear ways. There are no rules. You can say, wait a minute, if a business is a story, I mean, what else is it? I can create a story with a purpose, and I can organize people around it. Now, so I don't know if that's answering your question, but I simply say I don't agree with imagination and things you imagine being intangible. I think it's the other way around. I think everything really is intangible. It's all made up in your brain. That's all it is.
It's great. It is true. It really requires a mindset shift. There are a couple of questions about fear. There's one here that says, Thank you for an excellent, this is from Yvonne Carlson. Thank you for an excellent presentation. How do you facilitate conversations about change with people who are experiencing fear? Some organizations are crippled by our current context. There are a couple of other questions, for instance, very similar questions. For instance, one from Khaled CJ from Botswana, who is saying, I'll piggyback on Kofi Jemfi's question, imagine this in corporate settings. How do you help them move past linear thinking and into critical thinking? I find that that has kept a lot of corporations back. Fear of being in the cusp of the chaos curve. And then another one, we are really in desperate and maybe desperate times and need to upgrade our imagination. Often fear stands in the way. How do we reduce fear?
So I want to, I'll tell you a little story about something maybe might seems unrelated, but I think to me it's very related. It's how I kind of see these kind of things. Fear, and yes, there's, of course, I'm an entrepreneur, I know, there's ups and downs, and as a business, obviously, and I have, my parents are in their 80s, and so I'm worried about them and their health. So there's all this going on, right? So you have sort of this fight or flee kind of reaction, right? That's your natural behavior. Like I want to run away from danger, or I need to fight it, but so here the way I see fear, first of all, if you are in a company and there's a culture of fear, leadership needs to do something about that. They need to create a safe space. There's no creativity without a safe space. There cannot be any creativity if you cannot make mistakes, if you can't try and can't explore and you cannot experiment. You will never come up with anything new. Now, you might want to come up with something new. I think that a lot of companies, in the way they respond to a crisis, is by looking at what has been working for them in the past, what makes them the money directly, and then cutting away everything else. That might not be the right decision, because it means that you're going to cut away, what they will see as intangibles or indirects, and which makes them no money directly. But that's actually the other way around. This is the moment to imagine. This is the moment to stand still and sit back and observe. Now, this is counterintuitive, I know, because you feel like, no, I need to run, I need to run. No. Yet you have to, of course you have to do work, and you have to make a living, of course you do. But you also have to kind of sit back and look at what's happening, because you're missing something if you don't. Now, okay, that's something else, but I want to talk about fear. If you, so I've been in theater, and I've done stand-up comedy, which I do not recommend, because it's terrible, it's so scary to do so. But it is the fear. It is the fear that drives you. It is the fear that switches on, everything in all your senses go like boom, all your antennas go on, right? So that is important. So don't be afraid of being afraid. I wanted to say it is about, you are really courageous if you're doing the things you're afraid of, right? If you're not afraid of something, within innovation, I always say, if it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. If you don't feel pain, you're just repeating the things that you think are safe. Go to the edge. Go to find the edges of things, because that's where no one dares to go. So be afraid. Yes, it's okay to be worried. As an entrepreneur, I run businesses. We're worried. I'm afraid. I'm like, oh, but that's okay. I understand. I have to be. But that's part of it, right? Use that energy. So don't worry about it. But if you have leaders in your organization that kind of make you more afraid and don't give you the space to embrace that and to try new things and to kind of be creative and create a psychological safe space for you, that's a big problem. So leadership needs to understand how to create a psychological safe space for people. And that starts with themselves, with being a leader, not a manager, not a director, but being a leader and showing and being open and vulnerable themselves. It is a period where we're going to see a lot of companies collapse. We're going to see a lot of problems occur. Now, you can say that's terrible for the people, you know, for the businesses. I believe that most people will come, you know, they'll do other things. And there's a word for it. There's actually a whole philosophy around it. It's called creative destruction. And because every time something new comes, something else will be disrupted. And that's just, you know, so you can also just say, well, that's just how it is. You know, I'm quoting an American president. It is what it is. So don't worry. I didn't want to do that. By the way. Why did I say that? It's terrible. I hope you're not recording this one. Oh my God.
We'll cut it out. We'll cut it out.
It is what it is, people. No, but I just want to say that make use of it. Don't shy away from it. Don't hide away from it. Go into it. Go. If you're afraid of something, you know, embrace it. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. It's energy. Use it. And yeah, that's all I can say, really, because I don't know the specifics.
So lean into your fear. Lean into your fear. Is that a good way to put it? Okay.
Yeah, lean into your fear, which sounds terrible, but there's no other way, because it is part of your growth. It is part of our learning process. This is, you know, if you don't lean into your fear, if you don't try again, if you don't, you know, you're missing something. And don't be so, don't try to kind of keep that same pattern going. Because I've seen so many people that were in this pandemic and they were just, you know, I have to answer all my emails and I have to go and be task oriented. Be aware of the fact that if you stand still, your brain will still be active, but we have no language to talk about the value of doing nothing, of mind wandering. That's the best word I can come up with, mind wandering. Your brain needs to process things. You will feel things. Put your antennas out and just sometimes just do nothing. Good things will happen. Just be aware of the fact that there is stuff happening that you might not rationally come up with, but doing nothing is such an important part of the imagination process and the creative process. And it's mind-wandering, and there's all kinds of vague words to describe it. We don't have the language because it all sounds like being lazy and procrastination and all that. It's not bad. It is about tuning into the wave that is there. There's a huge wave. It's been there. It's not the pandemic. You know, pandemic has, you know, sped it up. It's faster now because of the pandemic, but there was a wave. It was already there, and tune into it because we're all in the same wave and everything's connected to everything. And if you feel that energy, you will feel things coming your way. And it's not a design thinking. Design thinking is it's just a way to create language around that change. It's not agile, it's not lean startup. It's all the same people trying to kind of figure out what is happening. But there's stuff happening, and it's not just this pandemic. There's way more coming our way.
All right. Anupa Dasgupta says, how do you encourage companies to look at balance rather than economics, especially since finances is such a big question? Co-create a session with them. There was another question from Doris Ahiati was saying, to what extent do you encourage or disagree or agree with breaking old rules? That was probably connected to the fear question, but if we bring it here and talk about balance, how do you encourage companies to look at balance rather than economics when you can't really, you know, minimize, well, you can minimize profit, like you said, but you can't minimize the economics of it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I understand the question, and it's not like, and remember I said that I don't know stuff, and I have no clue how to do it, because I think that the problem is that we are in a shareholder system. So the only answer I can give you is that if they don't, we're going to have a big problem. And if they don't, these companies either destroy the planet or they'll disappear, because there's going to be new companies, challengers, who are going to do that. I think there's an opportunity again, like I said. I believe that there's a new way of organizing ourselves in systems. We don't have to become big companies. Now, Kate Raworth from the book Donut Economy, I'm quoting her, I think, it says, nothing in nature grows forever. Nothing in nature grows forever. Now we can pretend we are not nature, but we are nature. Anything that grows like unlimited in nature is a cancer. So think about bigger companies sucking up all the value. I mean, there's people who are billionaires, you know, they're like, why, what is that all about? And how come they have so much power? Because they collected all that money. It wasn't meant for that. And companies are for people. They're not, what else are they for? So I'm being a little bit naive here, but I think that, and I'm seeing it around me, a lot of companies popping up saying, hey, I can be a small team, because especially in these kind of moments of crisis, small companies survive because they don't have that much overhead, they don't have that much stress. And the people working for small companies are, in general, more happy. 80 or 90% of the people working in big companies are unhappy. How is that? How is that a thing? How can you have a company? How can you be the owner or the CEO of a company and 80% of the people working for you are unhappy? How is that a thing? That should wake you up in the middle of the night sweating. Like, how can I make them more happy? Because you know that they don't care about your business because you're unhappy. They don't care about the quality of the product. Not really. They just care about their job and their paycheck. You don't want that. So there's a new generation of companies. I'm not talking about young or old people. There's a new generation of consciousness, there's a new generation of companies popping up saying, wait a minute, I want to be happy. Hey, that's really a silly idea, but I want to be happy in the things I do. There's no such thing as work-life balance. That's another lie. I'm challenging you here. There's another, because it's only life. There is no such thing as work and life. There's life. So there's a whole generation of companies saying, we are going to organize ourselves differently. I want to work with the people I like. I want to make them happy because I know that they're going to work for me better and their products are going to be better, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just common sense. And technology allows us to organize ourselves differently. My company, I work with teams around the world in 24 countries. We have teams. I work on a global scale every day because of LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Zoom. It's there. Most of it is free. You know, you can be a small organization and be passionate about what you do and love what you do, and have a big global impact if you want. You can do it without the whole pyramid, without being, having your HR departments and your sales force people and your what have you. So challenge your own thinking around that. But so basically my answer is, I think by smaller them, because that's how they innovate. I think that's the only way to go. And I think there's going to be, with a new generation of understanding of what work actually means. And global warming is going to be probably going to have the last say to if you think about these companies, because this pandemic has changed a lot. If global warming is anything we think it's going to do, it's going to be so much worse than this pandemic. So I think it's either going to happen anyway because nature is telling us, or they're wise enough to change things, and we're getting out of that shareholder system, which is all about maximizing profit and sucking it up the pyramid, or it is about us as human beings organizing ourselves differently and say, enough, I don't want to work for a corporate like that anymore. I don't want to work in this political organization. I don't want to work every day a marathon where only the board members and the shareholders get all the profit. Why would I do that? I have talent. I'm great. I'm gonna start a small company and I'm going to be happy doing what I. And that's okay. Sorry. Is that a bit of a rant? Maybe.
Great. A lot of things to think about. This is Abby again.
Hey, Abby.
So there's a question from Bernard Walker. He says, what are your thoughts about sustainable brands' work in articulating the regenerative economy model?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's asking your thoughts on that.
So
what are your thoughts about sustainable brands' work in articulating the regenerative economy model?
Yeah, so regenerative economy is one of those things that, if you look at new economy, I think, if you haven't, look at that. What we need, economists who are creative. We need designers, imagineers, creative people, and people who understand the system of economics to work together to build a new system, because that's what we're needing. And companies can be part of that. Organizations can be part of that. Sustainability, I think, exactly, regenerative is a challenge, but we need to go there. I think that brands, and I just was reading this article about be an authentic brand if you don't walk the talk, and a lot of companies just don't. We come from a history of, advertising, and I have been in advertisements, so I know what I talk about. I have constructed many lies to say you're going to be really happy if you buy this product, and no, I don't really care about you, and it doesn't happen. We're going to go towards a transparent business, a transparent organization where they are real because you can see everything they do. And I think, so again, if you talk about, the future of organization and business, I think that is what we're going towards. And I think this is really exciting, and I don't know what it's going to look like. The other thing is, look at quantum computing. Now, as someone who knows a lot more about this than I, told me quantum computing, if you think blockchain has kind of, is quite radical and innovative and has changed a lot, quantum computing is going to blow it out of the water. Quantum computing is going to change so much the way we do. Artificial intelligence, if you are in a job that can be replaced by an algorithm, it's going to be replaced by an algorithm. We're going to see a totally new society. We're going to see, a lot of jobs being created by artificial intelligence, totally different jobs, and a lot of jobs are going to disappear. Now, I'm saying that what we need is businesses who are, authentic for real, not fake, real business, real people with real purpose. That kind of allows people to kind of work for them, be happy, why they're doing what they're doing, because you really want to work for a company with a clear purpose. And they're going to organize themselves totally differently. They're going to be small, working in an ecosystem, and that ecosystem needs to be balanced, because it's not just you trying to kind of suck up all the value towards you and your board members. No, it is about understanding that you are part of an ecosystem, and the whole ecosystem needs to be healthy. And that is sort of where I see new businesses kind of flowing towards. And I think I really totally believe that that is a future scenario. Again, I don't know. It's maybe also a hope I have. But I think that's sort of what I would call sustainable when you look at the system and you understand you're part of the system, and you're not trying to kind of, and the value exchange within the system is all equal. It's not about just one getting more out of it than the other. So it's taking care of each other. And I'm not just saying ecosystems as in businesses, but also in human beings. So our value exchange is equal, and we take care of each other. And that is I'm not a hippie, but Buddhist. I could be Buddhist, I think I could be. Not, but I could be. Stop me anytime.
No, we're almost there. We're almost there. Ibrahim Ushau says, very insightful for me. Richard Adumua says, from this talk, I'm learning that being afraid is a necessity to be creative. Samantha L says, I'm learning so much. I'm watching from London. But that feeds into this question from Adina Poplampo, who says, hi, Annie, how do you avoid just creating for creating's sake? Because obviously, there cannot be much value in just facing all of our fears and chasing every opportunity.
Right, yeah. Yes, so of course, you have to make decisions too. And maybe that leads to our, and it depends a little bit on what you're talking about. So new products, new services, you can't do everything, but that means that you're going to have to make some decisions and choose. But it is this iterative approach within design thinking. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the double diamond. The double diamond, I'm going to show it to you because I have it I always have the double diamond laying around. But I have it here. Double diamond meaning that there's a moment here at the start where you diverge, where you do your research, where you look at everything and you go to the edge. This is where we should be now. We do research, we look at things, we listen, we see patterns, we understand, we try to understand what's happening, but we're not afraid, so we go to the edge. We're going to have to converge, and we have to make some decisions and some choices and try things out. However, it's not a linear approach. You want to be able to go back and, in all the agile methodologies, you'll see how you try things first quickly and then go back and use what you've learned. And you can pivot. So I'm talking lean startup, Eric Rice, lean startup methodology, pivot because you want to change, or you need to create a new iteration or a prototype or a new pilot. But this idea of, this is again an old idea, living in beta, you're never done. The point is actually, there is no moment of saying, this is it, I'm done. No, of course not. This is just one possibility you've been trying, and the world moves on. Because years ago, we thought, at least, the way I understood it, is that you reorganize yourself as an organization and you're developing this new product or service. The world kind of waits for you to be done. And there you go, you have your launch and you launch your product, and then things start moving again. That's not the case. It wasn't the case then, but I think it was sort of a feeling people had. The world moves on. So you have to keep moving. That's all you have to sit continuously. So I don't think you have to kind of, you can't do everything, but you have to make choices. Of course you do. And you do it with your gut feeling. And you test something and then you go ahead and go again and go again. Of course. But I think that it is more of a way of looking at things that needs to change, and also the process in which you work in your organization. And it is already changing. A lot of businesses are moving towards agile methodologizations, working with teams that are slightly independent, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is a movement already towards this iterative way of working. And also, don't be afraid to make that mistake, because just make that mistake really early, do it quick, make that mistake early when it's still cheap, and then iterate, do it again, and don't be afraid to try as many things as you can.
Wonderful, and always thought-provoking. I remember the your first keynote where you talked about learning to ride a bicycle. That just haven't forgotten that. Thank you so much. I think we are at the end of this segment right now, and we're going to move on to the breakout rooms. So for everybody here, you would have seen the schedule. And I'm going to come back to you to say, to give us your last word in a sentence. So get ready for it. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and you registered for the conference, so you would have seen it. We have a number of breakout rooms. The first one is, I'm trying to find my list here. Give me 1 second. So the room 1 has the topic, and by the way, these breakout rooms are going to tell you about an 8-week toolkit program that we launched, and we learned so much. This is when during the lockdowns, so we learned so much, and we want to share that with the world. So breakout room 1, the topic is acquiring the VUCA problem-solving tool for diagnosis and business decision-making. Breakout room 2 is design thinking tools for innovating beyond survival in times of adversity. Breakout room 3 is learning to build an affinity diagram to understand your decision space. And breakout room 4 is journey mapping to anticipate changes in customer behavior. So our facilitators are ready and they are going to be engaging with you in the breakout rooms. Our understanding is that when you registered, you chose a breakout room. If you didn't choose one, we'll assign one to you. The breakout rooms are all ready. For those of you who are not familiar with the breakout room process, it's going to feel a little odd, but you're going to get a prompt on your screen, which is going to say you've been invited to a breakout room. You click on it and you go into another room and you engage with the facilitator there. They're all prepped up and they're ready to go. If you fall off, your internet breaks and you come back, the host will assign you back to your breakout room. It's always good to when you come back, you share on the chat which breakout room you're in. So take a note of the number you're in. So we're going to go into the breakout rooms now for about, let's see, how long is the breakout room sessions? For about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back here into the plenary to close. So Anne, last words for us. And then we'll open the breakout rooms. Oh, your audio. Oh, yes. Yes. Host, can you unmute Anna, please? And for everybody, the reason why we have this very stringent process is because of Zoom bombing. We really had to fight Zoom bombing. So if you are disappointed that you didn't get to ask the questions yourself, we've been Zoom bombed. It's not pleasant. So we apologize. All right, Anna, go for it.
Final last words is, well, first of all, if you have any, because I do see a few more questions in the chat. I'm not able to answer right now, but if you have any questions, you can find me online, come, and ask me any question. And I would, first of all, thank you so much for listening and asking these great questions to me. Just enjoy the rest of the conference. And I really, although I like the opportunity to be connected this way, I really hope that next year we can actually be in the same space and I can shake your hand, and that'd be so cool. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And you did say that you had to run off and do something, but if you're around when we come back, it would be great to get some thoughts from you. All right. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, I'll keep it on.
Yeah. All right. All right. Cheers. All right. So Ms. Abby is ready to launch the breakout rooms, and do you want to say something to us before you do that, Ms. Abby?
Yes, probably you may not get the breakout room that you chose during your registration. If that happens, we apologize for that, but I'm sure you still enjoy wherever you find yourselves, and do have fun. We'll see you in 20 minutes. So I'm opening them now. Look out for the prompt and then just click on it and you'll be sent to your breakout room. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you really want to join the room that you are assigned to, and if you are mistakenly assigned and you really want, you can just come back into the plenary and ask for it in the chat. All right, Mr. Launch.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this breakout room. Without taking too much time, I'll launch straight into it. Just to confirm if Doris is here. All right, Doris is here, great. All right, so guys, let's get started. Good morning once again, everyone, and it's great to have you all. Can you hear me well, everybody?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great,
Yes, we
super,
can hear you.
great. So this is Design Thinking Ghana Conference 2020, and as you already know, we host this workshop face to face, with this conference face to face, but we are privileged to have this opportunity to also host it online, looking at the circumstance that we all find ourselves. Over the when we were in the peak of the pandemic, I would say, when all of us were literally on lockdown, we thought it was necessary to keep business going, to get people some tools that they can use to make sense of the chaos that we all found ourselves, and to build forward, to build through the chaos and keep their businesses alive. We didn't want people to halt. And so Design Thinking Ghana came up with what we call the, just a second, let me put on my video. Okay, came up with the Design Thinking Toolkit training program, and the major idea was to help people use some of the tools, design thinking tools that they could typically pick out of the design thinking toolbox and right away go into action and use them to find solutions and to help them build forward in the chaos that we all found ourselves. So pretty much that was the concept of this program. We ran it for 8 weeks, and every other week we took one of the toolkits, and then we went into a live demo, really hands-on, that people could pick the tools and use. And so that's about the design thinking toolkit training program. And so in week 2, we looked at acquiring the VUCA problem solving tool for business, for diagnosis and business decision making. And I'll be telling you the story of that session, not so much into teaching you the tool, but just the story of how we came about that, and hopefully we'll be able to go into some question and answers, and that's where we're going to end it. And so without elaborating so much on the workshop, I would want to say our partners for this year's workshop is MTN. We also are partnering with Associated Design Lab, and then Design Thinkers Group, also J Ford, and then we have our partners from University of Cape Town's D School. This is our 5-year anniversary as Design Thinking Ghana Hub, and we are really proud and grateful to have you all celebrate this with us. So just a little about me, so you know who is talking. My name is Kofi Jemfi, and I work with Design Thinking Ghana Hub as a workshop facilitator. And my day job is at Unilever, where I lead sustainability for West Africa. And then I'm a mentor at Chessy, and also I am a one young word ambassador for West Africa. So today with me is Doris, and Doris will just give us a quick intro.
Hi, my name is Doris Ahiati. I'm a financial analyst, an executive coach, a John C. Maxwell certified coach, and I'm also a consultant. Prior to joining Crescendo Consult, where we do financial advisory, executive leadership, and coaching and consulting, I was the country director for ACCA Global, the Chartered Financial Accounting firm. And then I was also the vice president at Data Bank, an investment banking outfit where I led the research, equity research, corporate finance, advisory transactions, among others. I set up their pensions business, which is presently worth about $1 billion, and also advised the government of Ghana to raise €1 billion dollars on the US markets, international markets actually. So that's a bit about me. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Doris. Really nice to have you with all of your skill and your wealth of experience. Excellent. So guys, we launch right into it. This was a thinking, right, that we thought the workshop in this way. The world was temporarily closed and everything halted, and it's really uncertain for young businesses, for bigger businesses, and everyone really trying to understand what is happening, trying to understand how do we build forward from here. And so that is how we worked the workshop around helping people understand what's happening, and then how they can use design thinking tools to build forward from there. And we established that this is what is happening. This is the battlefield, right? And even though these guys are really seasoned warriors and they really know their stuff, they know how to use their tools, they know how to navigate it for the result they expect. The battlefield is really complex. It's so volatile, it's so ambiguous, and so uncertain. And so how do these well-skilled warriors use their skill in a battlefield that is so uncertain, volatile, and complex? And that's exactly the kind of context that we're dealing with, the kind of context that you have in business. And so that's how we worked the workshop around, to help these seasoned and skilled business people like yourself, like startups, understand first of all where they are at, and then how they can use design thinking tools to build forward. And so we thought this was a great tool. If you've not heard about VUCA, VUCA is a term that is used by the U.S. military to understand the field of play, and it talks about how complex warfare is, how volatile it is, how really ambiguous, and then uncertain. When we talk about uncertainty, it's talking about unclear about the present, volatility, definitely the rate of change, complexity, you're looking at multiple key decision factors, and ambiguity, you're looking at really lack of clarity and meaning of events, which is exactly what we all found ourselves in a couple of months ago. And this, when you understand the field of play for your business, then you can know what's next to do. And that was about how we worked the workshops. And good enough, we have found people that have tried to demystify VUCA, right? So to take it from it being just about complexity, ambiguity, volatility, and uncertainty, to really make it understandable and relatable. So if you think about, if you identify that your field of play during those times, and even in these times, is very volatile, what we advised, or what we work the workshop around, is moving people from volatility to vision. And so you'd want to paint a picture of a future that you want. If it's so ambiguous, if it's so uncertain, you're looking to understand the interconnectedness and really make things transparent, so you understand and you can build forward from that. If you're looking at really complex situations, then you're looking to find clarity, really simplify things, so that you can focus on what really matters in the thick of the pandemic. And then lastly, looking into very, very ambiguous situations, then you're looking to be very agile, very flexible, bringing your agility to your A game, and then how you can restructure your hierarchy and all of that, so you can move forward, so you don't halt. So that was how we worked the workshop around. And we move on to use more visualization, right? Because design thinking is big on visualization, how people can really visualize the solution, visualize the problem, visualize the process, and visualize the solution. And so this is just a clear picture to say, if you found yourself in a very volatile situation, you're looking to clarify your vision. Uncertainty moves to understanding, complexity moves to clarity, and then ambiguity to agility. And how design thinking really comes to play in this scenario is the fact that design thinking really is appropriate for VUCA, because we made a case that design thinking is all about making sense of desperate information, making sense out of chaos, and that is what design thinking is about. The double diamond shape that Annie talked about, it helps you move through chaos to focus and clarity when you use some of these tools. And so, just not to make it so much of talk, we created an online experience where the attendees and our clients could get on to use the tools just right on the call, and really made it simple such that they can use this tool right there, get some solutions that right after the session they could go ahead and implement and give us feedback. And so Doris will take us through the technology and some of the outcome.
Thank you very much, Kofi. Very crisp presentation there indeed. And let me say hello again to all our participants in the room here with us. It was a lot of fun, I tell you, during the lockdown for those of us in Ghana in the month of May, when we handled this particular topic. And in the breakout room, we didn't know each other, the people that found ourselves there, much the same way that, besides Kofi and myself, most of us here probably have not met before when we are meeting ourselves for the first time. And we set out to find a way to help an identified person, in the person of Mr. Ramos, who is the general manager of Labadi Beach Hotel, to identify ways to keep his business running under the current circumstances. So for our POV, we had identified the persona, and we identified the need of this particular CEO of a hotel, a prominent hotel in Ghana. And as well, we identified what the need is. And ultimately, the need was to ensure that the business keeps running. Kofi, can you kindly put the slide up for me? Hello, Kofi, are you there? So it's possible that he's been thrown out, but like he said, if you can all hear me, we had an actual person who had a need, a business person like most of us. And I just want to walk you down the VUCA and how we used it. Imagine that you are the CEO of a hospitality business. And then you had your plans well set out for you at the beginning of the year. You are booking in occupancy, you are taking on conferencing and banqueting and all that. Beginning of the year, you're expecting that you have a great year. Then by month 2, you start picking signals of changes in the world environment. First, we suddenly hear that you get people canceling their hotel bookings, and then you get to know that the border has been locked. That's a very rapid rate of change. So that defines the volatility that this particular CEO would find himself in. And he has to quickly find out a way to deal with that volatility. Then there is the uncertainty that comes with the situation. What is the future going to hold? In Ghana, first we heard rumors of the lockdown coming this week, that Parliament, caucus, and some high-powered team at the presidency have taken a decision on locking down the country. And then we had to wait a little bit before eventually we're given notice and we went into lockdown. So in the midst of that uncertainty, as the CEO of a hospitality business like Labadi Beach Hotel, what do you do? And you have to think and figure out the actions that you must take in the midst of the situation. And that's where the VUCA tool comes in. I'll get to that in just a little bit. Then we also have the complexity. So you are a hospitality business. There are many moving parts. There are many key factors that you have to bear in mind in your decision making. You have to look at your return on investment. You have to look at your fixed cost proportion and contribution to your overall cost. You also have to look at the people piece. What are the implications for your staff? And what is the implication of all that is happening on your business for the future? There was regulations that was passed in the spur of the moment by the Parliament of Ghana, for example, restricting movement. And then wearing of face mask also became a requirement. All these are things that are suddenly thrown at you, and in the complexity of the moment, which one do you focus on? And then finally, we talk about the ambiguity. Even when announcements had been given, when directives had been given in Ghana, we had a scenario where there was a directive to close all hospitality outlets. Some restaurants thought they could open. We had drinking spots that along the line thought that they could open. And so you have that kind of lacking clarity in the next steps. But the VUCA tool helps you to shift from the negative when we are talking or to take decisions to solve the problems is what I'm just going to quickly run through. So in the case of, say, the Labadi Beach Hotel example that I cited, in the midst of the volatility that I described, it becomes important for you to look at crafting a new vision. And I think during Annie's presentation, he made reference to, Dr. Gordon as well made reference to the importance of innovating and jumping your escapes. That is the point where you have to begin to look at your resources, your capabilities, and competencies, and identify what's new you might be able to use your available resources and competencies to do. And by crafting a new vision, you are able to now create a compass that will serve as a guide in the midst of all the uncertainty and the volatility that you are dealing with. by innovating and also armed with the compass that the vision creates for you, you are able to rally support and motivate your team so that you can move into delivering some results. The second part, the U of the VUCA tool, when we look on the brighter side as a solution, is understanding. And so there is uncertainty and you don't know what to do. In the midst of uncertainty, when we all don't know what we are dealing with, and when we don't understand the situation very well, we tend to get nervous, we get anxious, and that is quite some negative energy. When you convert and transform that into understanding by giving information to overcome the lacking understanding, you are able to harness and channel the negative energies of fear and anxiety into action mode. Now people know that alternatively, they can begin to focus on maybe not accommodating people in their rooms, but let's focus on the food and beverage side, and let's focus on people dining out or serving corporates from our restaurant, so that at least you keep some part of the business running. You look at the complexity side and you try to identify how you can bring clarity into the situation. So in the hotel example, we can think about the various moving parts that I made reference to. Do you look at your return on investment? Do you look at your cost, especially the fixed cost, which you are going to continue to incur, whether you have occupancy or not? Are you going to look at your people, whether to lay them off temporarily, whether to pay them half of their salaries, or what arrangement are you going to make around the people piece? Stocks that you have in-house, how are you going to manage it? If they are perishable, what decisions are you going to take around them? Assuming you have financing from a bank, how are you going to service them during the period? And this is where you will need to take a decision. And the tool recommends that when you have different key decision factors to consider, it becomes important for you to focus on only those which matter the most. And so you shift your focus to what is most crucial, what is most critical, as you use the VUCA tool. And lastly, in the midst of the ambiguity, that is where you need to learn to be nimble. You have to adopt an agile approach to doing things. So you need to become flexible. When it comes to decision making, for example, you may not be able to go through your original hierarchy of taking decisions. So in the VUCA environment and using a tool like this, it becomes very important for you to look at a flatter organization and self-organizing teams, as opposed to the vertically tall structures that we have seen in the past. And then you have to also pay attention to accountability. While people are being empowered and given the room to take decisions, they also need to be responsible to account for those actions that they take. And also finally, you need to innovate in that space. That helps you to attain the speed, the flexibility, and ease of response that you need in the midst of a VUCA world. And all this is quite dependent on the culture of the organization, like I made reference to. So it becomes important for you to review the culture of the existing organization. And that is how I would say, in the case of the Labadi, in spite of the fact that we are not in the same room, as to how we could tackle the problem. And at the end of the day, we came up with ideas that could address the solution. Post-workshop, like I already said, I'm a consultant. So I've been providing services to a number of clients of some banks to help them recover rapidly post-COVID. And I've been using it a lot to help them to diagnose the actual problems they are facing so that we can together work out a solution. A typical example I want to share was a logistics company that purchases commodities locally and then ships them to different countries in Europe and in Asia. Because of the lockdown, their products that were on the high seas could not gain access into the market. And they have trucks that they use for doing the purchases on the ground. And when they approached me, the problem they thought they had was need for funding. So they came to me and they are looking at how can I help them to raise funds. But when we use the VOCA tool to understand what they were actually dealing with, then we understood that it may not be funding, they have assets. How can they redeploy their assets? And so what we did was to, at the end of the day, identify through the various scenario planning, etc., that we did, including the fact that now you can't do your planning back to back. You are implementing as you do the planning side by side, and you need to be nimble so that you can alter the approaches as you get responses that are contrary to what you had anticipated. The conclusion for that particular client was that we find customers internally, because if they have the trucks and if they have existing customers, could they find demand for those products they were shipping to Europe? Because internally we don't have closed borders. And it will be interesting going forward that they also look on the African continent, where we have the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, to see what customers they can access. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my experience with you.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation.
Go into a Q&A. And so this is a key thing. So we had to make sure, we had to use the tools and then go ahead and putting together this workshop was to focus on attendees. You know, so we really looked at what we attendees could lean in. So we create an environment that allows them to engage and use the tools to get to use the tools, and then they can go and implement right on the call and after the call. The next thing is we made it really simple. And so for every breakout room, we have people able to actually move post-it notes around as though we were in the room. So they could write their point on it, pick it up, move it to this point. We agree that no, this shouldn't be volatile. This really looks like an uncertain situation. So remove the problems.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Welcome back, Kofi.
Oh, sorry, I just went off. And so yeah, that's pretty much I was concluding. And the last thing, it was really inviting. People were able to share ideas and talk and get engaging, and we could give them real feedback on the problem that they shared with us. And that was about how we organized the workshop, ran it, and then help people actually use the tool. And Doris has shared with us some practical experiences from there. And so thank you very much, guys. We go into the, I think there are a few more questions in the chat. I can't see time to unmute yourself. We can get into talking about the workshop, talking about how we crafted the experience, and then we'll be back in the plenary in a you. And so I saw a question early on when someone asked, how can we collaborate and do this in Botswana? I think we can do that. After the session, we can circle back with the Design Thinking Ghana team, and we would definitely look into how we can reorganize this workshop for you. Those asking for the slides here, they're available. You're going to have them right after the session, and we can also share the slide and the deck that we use for the actual workshop a few months back. So you can have both of the slides and you can use them. So if you have any feedback, question, you can put that in the chat. And if you have any questions, if you want to experience the live breakout room, we can actually also demo it for you to see. And so over to you, everybody else on the call. You can introduce yourself and then shoot. I'm not sure if your microphones mute.
Perhaps we can use them.
And go ahead and do that, and you can ask myself and Doris any questions you have around the workshop or the content we just. Okay, I just saw someone said they would love to have a live demo. All right, so let me just go ahead and demo it right here. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to put the link to the live demo so that you can go on there. So if you want to do the live demo, I'll share the link to the. So this is it. Give me 1 second. I'll share with you right now. I've so you can click on the link. Everybody can click on the link and to take you to the Google Sheets. And if you go to, let's say, this first page here, you have post-it note, and everybody worked on the problem statement. So those of you who are on, great, of the deck I'm showing. All right, this is expected. So we had some of these challenges when we were doing the actual workshop. And so guys, exactly, so you can, I can see someone just wrote amazing too. Yeah, so you can just type in here, designing online experiences. So everybody just somebody posted amazing too. Somebody can post something else, you know, and then we deliberate right on the call. You every mic is on mute. Go into describing it. Any of the post-it notes, you can change the color of the post-it note. It doesn't have to be always yellow. So you can pick the red one here and then share with us what your experience is. And so loving this, and then everybody else can do that. Exactly. I can see a bright yellow. And the good thing is once you put it there, I can also, you know, it's very collaborative. So I can write on the call, put in what I think. This is coffee. And this is how we collaborated. And so we discuss, move things around, and you see this is the activity on this particular slide. So we can go on slide which says do this. Note what strategy advice you would advise, what strategy advice is provided for how to deal with this element. And so we just go in step by step and then do the work right on the core. And we get into the slide 7 where we have to develop, go into making a one PowerPoint presentation. And so guys, that is how we run the workshops. We have just a few seconds to get back in the plenary. If you don't have no more questions, it's been great having you guys, and I hope that you can take this tool and use it in your business, or you can do a more immersive online workshop for everyone. Dorcas, your final words, if you have any. Doris, sorry.
Yes, don't worry. I often get addressed as such, right? So I think I just want to close with how amazing the tool is, how it moves you from a fragile situation to an agile approach to getting the work done, and agility, all that we really need to thrive in the VUCA world. And it's interesting that if you look at the difference between fragile and agile, we are looking at F and R, which are the beginning and the ending letters of the word.
Please mute yourselves. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great time in the breakout rooms. What would be good to do is to get some feedback quickly from each of the rooms so that we get a sense of how things went and also what some of the insights were. So I'm sure the facilitators can facilitate each of these feedback sessions. Shouldn't take more than 3 minutes in total for each breakout room. Maybe 2 minutes. So why don't we start with one, VUCA?
Yes. So Esther from VUCA, Esther, can you share your experience from the live demo? I think you can unmute your.
Kofi, you might want to keep it going.
Can you please unmute Esther? If not, I'll round it up. So team, we had a great time in our breakout room. We had about 20 people, and we took them through, shared experience from the workshop, what I think the highlight was and what people really loved, and the feedback we had was we're able to live demo the breakout rooms and how to move the post-it notes around as that, and give us feedback that is great. They asked for was to actually do the live, and I think it was great that people were curious enough to want to find out that. And Doris also ended it really great with a real world experience, where a post-workshop experience of helping a team that really was rooted in logistics rethink their business using VUCA as a tool to diagnose and make decisions. And so pretty much that was the experience we had in the breakout room. I'm sure it was about the funnest breakout room on the conference today.
Thank you for that. Let's go to number 2.
I don't know. I think you can quickly run a recap of what we did. Adino.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I'm live. So we were looking at innovating beyond the times of adversity, as it were, and we just looked at how we have. I think the joy for us was just realizing that crisis is not final, that our core competencies travel with us even in the midst of crises. and we can reinvent ourselves even in the midst of such times to deliver business value and to keep growing and surviving in times of adversity. So that I shared with everyone, and I'm sure it's been helpful. Thank you.
All right. That sounds great. Yes. Overcome adversity, you know. Number three.
Okay, let me just share something. So it was really amazing at our end, and we were able to use poster notes as the earlier presenter said. We came out with various ideas of how we're going to solve that problem on different sticky notes, or let's say poster notes, and at the end we were able to collate them under different categories. So we brought everything to an end by confirming that it's very possible that you could still organize events. That was our focus, to help event organizers and people who weren't, businesses which weren't operating because of the pandemic, to be able to have the opportunity to still get their businesses running. So this was an opportunity for us to know how we could go about virtually, and I think it was an amazing session, and we had Mary also sharing his real life experiences with us as well.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So maybe we can hear from the fourth one.
Okay, I have Richard on the call. Richard, can you take us through how the session went?
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we had a very fantastic session. We were talking about journey mapping. So Philip took us through the process, how the previous session went, his preparation, what it means to actually take note of the processes when it has to do with mapping, the highs and the lows. I also came in at some point to share my experience based on what my organization does, and we finally ended with the exercise. We looked at the theater experience post-COVID and pre-COVID. So post-COVID, there's a movie bars, you organize friends, you go and you have fun, there's popcorn, and there are discussions, and it's a fun environment. After COVID, you realize that you can't do that, so probably you would have to go on Netflix, you would have to either do movie alone or just with family. But then there's also a highs and the lows. The highs could be that you have options to choose from. The lows could be the fact that there's no theater experience. And for me, I think it was a good session.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We're really excited that we can, have a smooth sort of interaction all around. We would want to have a little bit more discussion, but before we, from the facilitators, maybe new things that came up, new insights, and also from the participants. But before we do that, we would like to hear from our sponsor, MTN. So David, take it away. David, you're on mute.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself. It's an exciting one. I've done design thinking a couple of times, and this is great. I like the approach. I would be happy to. It allows you to buy airtime as well as data bundle. At MTN, we are constantly innovating to deliver on our promise to bring to all our customers the benefit of a modern connected life. Our customers have busy lives, And because we there for you, it is only natural to keep things simple and make our customers' lives easier. So we designed an app with you in mind. My MTN app, a clean interactive portal that holds your favorite MTN transactions, easy to navigate, colorful, exciting, free to use. Innovation has never been this good. So go to Google Play Store or the App Store and download my MTN app today and put your MTN app control in your hands. Thank you very much. This is from MTN. My name is David, once again. And thank you, Godwin and the rest of the team.
Thank you, David. David, you didn't tell us your position, or?
Okay, got it. I'm manager for digital. So I take care of apps. You know, my MTN app, Adoba, all the other apps.
Great.
Yes, if there's anything, I'll be on standby for the discussion.
Thank you so much, David. It's always good to interact and connect. All right. So what we wanted to do, I was still trying to download the video, but when it does, I'll show you later. What we want to do, we know we are almost out of time, but we want to make sure that, you know, we're hitting it home for people. So please raise your hand and share with us your experience. So we got the quick recaps from the various rooms. Now we want insights. What did it for you? And for facilitators, what new thing did you discover? What comment did somebody make that really sort of drove it home? What other comments you want to make on our keynote talk today? How to take advantage of being on the edge of chaos and so forth. So the floor is open, but so that it's not crazy, please raise your hand, use a hand raise tool, and then we will call on you to share your thoughts. And of course, the chat box is still open for people to share their thoughts there as well. So don't see any hand raises yet.
Yeah. So
yes, Eugene, go for it.
Okay, I want to contribute an idea from the journey mapping session we had. If you look carefully at how journey mapping is able to capture a user's experience every step of the way, before, during, and after, it can become a powerful tool for businesses to even survive in a chaotic field. I mean, businesses can take a step back, customers to solve the pain point for them, and then say, okay, so if the competitor is adding A to solve the pain point, maybe we can do A plus B to really make it even better. And in that way, businesses can actually begin to outcompete and even do better than their competitors in the field. And this is something which really comes very, very clear using the journey map, because in that in the on what you can do to make the experience much better for them. So that's something I picked up from the what do you call it, the journey mapping breakout room session. Yeah, thanks.
That's wonderful. As you, Ibrahim Ushawu says, the only thing that grows unlimited is cancer. It's one of the things I'm taking with me from Tamale, Ghana. Let's go to Salamatu Mustafa.
Hi, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
We can hear you.
So this short session, it wasn't really short, 2 hours. It was really insightful. I enjoyed every bit of it. And for me, moving into the breakout session and learning about affinity mapping is a big takeout for me. I've also had series of design thinking, classes or courses here and there, and affinity with, even though the breakout session was pretty short for us, we couldn't complete it, but it was very insightful, and I'm glad that I was part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salma. Glad to have you. So affinity mapping, the power of affinity mapping.
How innovative really Annie's presentation was, using the poster notes, and even when he was on mute and needed to be unmuted, he had a post notes that shows to the camera to say unmute me, and I think that's really, really interesting. And so that's really gets my mind thinking on what next we can take our breakout rooms, what next we can take an online experience, what props that we can have with us that we can show people and then get them into what we're talking about, just not for workshops, but for business presentations, for even interviews, and for pretty much everything that we will have to now transmit online. So what more props, how creative can I get to sell my creativity even on the line? And that is about one really amazing things that I picked from the session. I have a whole notes here from all that Annie said. And one of it that's standing out for me really is anything that goes unlimitedly creates a natural cancer, which is great. And the idea that everything really is stories. So how do we tell the story of design thinking? How do we tell the story of my personal brand? How do we tell the story of a company? And the story told now become a tangible entity in people's minds. And so that's pretty much a really great highlight for me that I'm taking from this session. And one last thing is how people, when we saw as the demo, let us see it, and they went on there and they actually got doing it right on the call. So it's not magic, it's as we said it, and people just got on and started using the tools.
Right. So Kofi, now that we're talking about props, you have to tell us about the hats you wear, the different hats you use.
Let me
in your
just
Zoom
put
calls.
on my call. And so guys, just to create some bits of conversation, anytime I get on a Zoom call, I have this hat right here handy, so I always wear it, and people just, it straight away breaks the ice, and people start asking questions. Is that a Ghanaian something? Is it a prop? What was it for? What's it called? Yeah, and so I just have it handy here. I always use it just to break the ice when I'm getting on a call, especially one that has international delegates. And so that's my prop. I didn't even know I had.
That's a good one. It's really interesting, right? This idea that we think if once we're online, everything has to be digital. And Annie has shown us that being online doesn't mean everything has to be digital. You can still sort of blend in the analog with digital. So that was fantastic. Thank you for bringing that back up. Philip.
Yes, so thank you. One takeaway for me is Annie's presentation too, and what he said about there's no creativity if there's no safe space, and that's one big thing for me. Most organizations sometimes put a very restricted space for people to work, and that statement Annie made was very, very, very deep for me, that you can only be creative if there's a safe space, if you are allowed to make mistakes. And I think that is amazing. So thank you, Annie. That was a brilliant presentation, and I enjoyed it.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, making that space. Any others? I don't see any more hands.
Doug, there's a few comments in the chat section.
Go for it, Kofi.
Okay, so we have from Esther saying, haha, we all have to get props. We have Richard saying Jenny mapping is like prophesying the outcome of an event before it happens. We have a lot of people commenting excellent and haha. We have Yvonne saying that, will you have follow-up webinars? We have started a great conversation here, and there's great value in continued collaboration. And so it's just all about a lot of positive feedbacks coming through the comment section.
Okay, so if I can add a little, I actually
Yes,
not
David.
comment the tool. I think I appreciate the tool, the journey mapping tool. You know, we used to do that, but online. I don't know. I need some schooling on how we can also take advantage of the tools, where you get a sticker and, you know.
That okay, so Afia is telling me that they have a session.
Okay.
You have a session with you. Oh, I didn't even know that.
Okay.
Okay, so look, it sounds like we have a session with you.
Okay.
As part of this engagement, so we're looking for Jan. Myro is also great. Jan is, I think Jan works from Senegal, but I don't know if he's in Senegal now. Jan, are you able to say hi?
Absolutely.
Good to see you, man.
Awesome, good to see you. Congrats, guy, for the good job. So yeah, based in Senegal, rainy Senegal today. Hi, everybody. But yeah, I was just saying we use Myro. You probably know that as well.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah, I was surprised. It's pretty light and easy to use to do brainstorm session on the Google Slide anyway. That worked fine as well. So that was cool. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because one of the things where we wanted to start from was basics, right? So we said there's Myro, there's Mural, but how do we go all the way back and start from the basics? So
everybody can get it. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Very, very briefly about your organization. I know you also do some work in Ghana, not more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Means like we are design startup, based in so yeah, we still community about design in Francophone Africa, and we still do a lot of that, and we will try to push the boundaries over there as well, starting with the tech ecosystem, but opening up to different type of stakeholders in the NGO world, in also large companies. So yeah, I mean, we survived COVID.
That's right.
We managed to do research remotely. We watched not easy, but yeah, so far so good. So now we are a team of 35 people, mostly based in Dakar and Abidjan, and in two sides of the team. One is UX UI, another one is mostly UX research. But definitely looking forward for more conference like the ones you guys do, because the main problem we have as a company is to hire people who know about those things, and it's super important. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Jan. And we're looking forward to doing more. I know we had plans last year for this year, but I think we should pick them up, back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, David.
Hello. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. I just wanted to touch briefly on what Annie said about striking a balance between chaos and structure. I think that really is enlightening, because like what Philip just said, sometimes, even though it sounds very easy on the surface, we, whether unconsciously or unconsciously, we find ourselves in either a very structured chaos or in an unstructured chaos. Because if you create strict rules for company workers to follow and not break rules in order to innovate, it's almost like you have created chaos within, but it's very structured, and everybody have to stay within that space. So I actually love that concept, and it's
Thank you, Derek, for that. Yeah, so winding it down. Hayford says a psychological safe space to promote creativity from Annie stood out for me as well. Thank you, Anne. Yes, it's been great. Yes, we are going to an earlier question. I'm trying to figure out what the question, who asked the question, whether we're going to be doing more sessions. Yes, we plan to make sense of this particular, situation we're in. We were surprised that we were able to continue to engage, and I'm going to put Annie on the spot because he started these web jams, which were wild, they're still wildly popular, with a whole range of engagement, and it's crazy. So definitely there's something going on. Over the years. So with that said, as you all know, our next session is going to be at MT, and we'll have Richard Perez, who's the founding director of the D School, which will be the Africa's the 3 D schools, one in San Francisco, one in Germany, and one in South Africa. So he will be doing the keynote for us, and we'll have the next set of 4 breakout rooms that you find on your program. But before we go, putting Anne back on the spot. Anne, take it away and close it for us. No, you can unmute this time, I think.
Wow, I have the power. Sorry. Yes.
But that was still good. It was still good because we I think one of the big thing for me actually is that these props, we need to exploit it, So
yeah.
There you go.
So I think that if I reflect a little bit on sort of one of the topics of this conference is the toolkit, right? And creating your toolkit and having your tools. But linking it a little bit back to the way we are wired, I think that the tools that are offered to you by design thinking, service design, language you want to speak, they are not the point. So like journey mapping or affinity mapping and taking responsibility for the tool instead of the tool saying, taking responsibility for. So if you do journey mapping and you're doing it not correctly because you haven't talked to any of your customers or you haven't done it correctly, it is nothing wrong with journey mapping. It is wrong with you doing it wrong. And don't say, well, see, so the tool didn't work, or design thinking doesn't work because of, or nowadays everybody talks about sprints, which I don't like because I don't think you solve anything in a sprint. But anyway, we look for methodologies and tools and structures to help us, and then say, oh, okay, so it's 4 steps or 6 steps. Tell me which. It's not the point. So think about this. Understand the problem first. Do whatever you need to do to understand what is the problem. What is the problem you're trying to fix? What do people need? Who are those people? Ask better questions. Ask more questions, and then you look for the tools that will help you answer. And I think that is within design, for me, it was my biggest lesson in design thinking, that I shifted from, there's a methodology, and I have the handbook, and we call it Prince 2 thinking, and you have the handbooks, and you go through all the steps, and if it doesn't work, you say, well, I did everything right. We are entering an era where that doesn't work anymore. It's your responsibility. Take the responsibility. And the other thing is, I really want to say is, if you feel you are powerless to change things, either within your company or within whatever structure you're in. Change starts with one person, always. It always starts with one person. And every little thing you do adds up to every little thing everybody else is doing. So don't feel powerless. Change something. It starts within. It starts within yourself. And if you are a leader, go and understand where you're from. What is your story? What have shaped you? And create a connection with yourself first, and a movement within yourself, and that will enable you to create a connection with others and a movement within others. But don't think that if you kind of don't understand yourself, and if you are not okay within yourself, don't think that then you can create good relationships with others. So the work is within yourself first. That's the hard work. That's the most difficult thing, because that is how it starts. But so my recommendation is, and I think Gordon, you said it nicely, not only lean into the fear, but also lean into that what you kind of struggle with the most, because this is where you can grow. And if you kind of keep steering away from that, yeah, you can go through life. It's a choice, but that's a choice you have to make. And I say, go lean into it. Is that a wrapping up thing?
I don't think anybody should say anything after that. You know, start with the problem before you go with the tool. Connect with yourself first before you try to connect with others. And even Ostrom, thank you so much. Thank you. It's like I said, it's always thought-provoking to talk to you. Very appreciative of your time today. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. Our I was going to say our listeners. Thank you so much, everybody. You can turn your camera on for 1 second for a group photo, right? Just a quick group photo, and then we will be on our way. So turn your camera on. Turn your camera on. Turn your camera on. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Okay. Okay. Coming up. Coming up. All right. So group photo number 1. Yeah. Another one. Okay. Let's go to the next. Group photo number 2. A lot of people don't have their cameras on. Group photo number 2. Come on. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. For those who are.
Thank you.
Oh, your camera, not your sound.
Thank you too.
For those who are coming back, we'll see you at 2 p.m. Thank you so much.
I've been attending design thinking sessions for about 3 years now. And what struck me the most about design thinking was its applicability in everything. Because initially I thought it was just something for business and tech solutions, but I realized you can apply it to every aspect of your life. And it's amazing because it allows you to think of practical solutions, because usually we talk about creativity and we don't realize how creativity is only useful when you can use it to solve problems. And design thinking allows you to solve problems with creativity. And I think that is exactly why I've been hooked onto it for this long.
My name is Kelvin Porte. and I'm a facilitator in training at Design Thinking Ghana Hub. For the past 3 years, I've been with Design Thinking Ghana Hub, and the main focus has been how to find human-centered solutions to problems that exist within our communities. At the same time, helping startups and helping organizations develop solutions like this.
My name is Isaac Newton Aqua, and I'm the accelerator lead for the Accelerator Factory. Last weekend, we had a first sprint where we had different facilitators, including one from Design Thinking Ghana. And they managed in a very short session to bring the design thinking and human-centered design to our startups and get to understand the benefits of getting close to their customers. In just one session, the startups are already understanding the benefits of having the customers at the heart of the decisions and literally building for the customers with them in mind. So we're thankful Design Thinking Ghana for their time and their excellence, and we know the startups will benefit greatly from their sessions they had with them.
We started doing consulting projects, doing training programs, and we're excited to have clients, very scary, to have clients here that we've provided training programs to. We've done some consulting, new product development consulting projects as well. So we're excited that we've got this level of reception, if you will, in the space. Design thinking is still new, but it's still growing. Today we get a lot more requests for workshops and programs than we can fill. We've done training to about 200 people every year. KICC is 120, so definitely more than 200 a year. We didn't do 200 in the first 2 years, so but we're close to 1,000, so that's fantastic.